Well, yeah, we'll see. Okay, so fantastic that you're here. Thank you so much for coming. So we're here to talk about curriculum for social change in theory and in practice-ish, I would say. Before we get to it, though, I think maybe a little bit of background, maybe how I got here and maybe how we got here. I first started teaching EAP, I think in 2016, and the first EAP course I ever taught on was heavily based around gender equality texts. And coming from an ESOL background, before that I was teaching, in FE, in further education, this was a massive shock to my system, basically, because I was not only, I was learning EAP myself, I was learning how to teach EAP on the job, and also at the same time I was learning about gender equality or gender equity issues at the same time. So I think fast forward to now, here I am, talking about this. So I think it's fair to say that that first course that I was teaching on, and then a few repeats after that, massively shaped what I do in EAP, what I have been doing in EAP ever since, but also what I think and what I do in relation specifically to gender equality. And it might sound funny coming from a woman, but I really did not have the understanding of the issues before I was exposed to that. So it was a massive learning curve for me. So yeah, I think now thinking about it, I think it's fair to say that it really transformed me as a person, as a woman, as a practitioner. And I've always been wondering ever since, does it have the same effect on the students? I knew it doesn't have the same. I knew it didn't have the same effect on all of the teachers, because I could hear discussions in the staff room, and a lot of teachers would be, maybe not a lot, maybe that's an exaggeration, but some teachers would be challenging it. Oh, why those texts? Why do we have to talk about gender equality in EAP classroom? Why not go for something else? I don't know. So the course director would have those conversations, and she had to really explain and justify why, at the end of the day, it was her course. She says, well, that's what we're doing. But to justify those choices. So I knew it wasn't happening for all of the teachers, but was it happening for the students? So here I am in the second year of my part-time PhD. I'm doing a PhD with Open University right now, asking specifically this question. So what is the social impact of an EAP curriculum for change? Okay, but because it's early days, really early days, obviously before I can get to the impact, before I can get to the impact, I am now just asking, okay, so but what is this curriculum for change? I named it curriculum change because it needed a name. Does it already exist? Was the curriculum that I was teaching, was it a curriculum for change? It works on me, intentionally or not. But this is where I am now. It's really asking, before I can measure the impact, think about that. It's really, what is the nature of such a curriculum? Does it exist? Is it already there? If not, can I create it? What should I do when I'm creating it, and so on? So this is when we come in today with this session, and because I'm hoping that we can together sort of come up with some ideas, in addition to my literature review, because what I have found so far is just based on literature review that I did so far. And I'm not going into the rationale for the session, because we had a really great chat with Sancha here yesterday about that we should really move from justification to action. We know why it's necessary, we know why it's needed, we either believe in it or not. Let's just move on and let's do something. So today, in this session, really, community open session, I would like to show you what I have found so far. I would like to talk about what the literature told me and my own experience and colleagues' experience, what I know from that, and then propose a curriculum for change framework, and then really just give it to you. What would you do with it? Would you challenge it? Are you agreeing with the principles? Are you disagreeing with them? Maybe something's missing, you think, you know? So this is what I would really like to do, and hopefully at the end maybe we can come up with some action plan. Maybe you would be willing to test it in your own contexts, whatever you come out with today. Okay, so that's the plan. So very quickly, what I mean, so what's curriculum for social change? What do I mean by that? So this is what I mean by that right now. I do realize that by the end of that PhD it might change. But now I'm thinking a curriculum that supports development of social change oriented citizens. Okay, so for change, so a curriculum that would not only teach students EAP, not only support them in becoming disciplinary experts, but also maybe global citizens, or maybe just people who care about social issues and maybe do something about social issues down the line. Okay? So the first finding, first and foremost, intention. I don't think that's a surprise to any of us. Probably you will not see many surprises here, but the intention. So if we want students to become active change makers, that intention has to be there, that intention to change the students' ways of being, knowing and doing. And then Freya says that without this explicit pedagogical intention guiding the curriculum design and delivery, change may be impossible. So, and then I was reading it and thinking, okay, is it intention? So me as the writer of the curriculum, I have to have that explicit intention. What about if I don't teach it? What about if somebody else teaches it? Do they also have to have that intention? So Freya would argue, yes, the teacher has to be on board, right? And I think after my pilot, I would definitely agree. So either curriculum writer and teacher in one, or both have to be on board for that change to kind of to make the change, not this one, possible. Okay, then was intention enough? What I found, another three kind of principles.
Sorry, that
principle. A what?
That owl.
What do you mean? Criticality, right? I thought that was yes. That was me. I love it. It is me pretty much every day when I'm learning something new. So the main principle, the overarching principle I have established from literature, the intention. We have to want it to happen, but is it enough? So then the other things, really what I found so far, criticality, again, probably not a surprise at all. Content, that was my first kind of way of thinking when I was first teaching that course, was okay, those texts. Just because I was exposed to those texts, that was maybe. But then I started thinking, but how were we working on those texts based on the curriculum? Oh, there were academic reading circles, a lot of criticality coming through that. There was some theory-based criticality, and this is how, which is something I didn't think about originally. The final principle, community, that was a surprise for me, because this is a principle that so I didn't find a curriculum for change as such in literature. I didn't find the whole kind of product anywhere yet. I'm not saying it's not there, I just didn't find it. So I was just trying to get those different ingredients. Community principle came from a non-EAP literature, from not even higher education teaching and learning literature. It came from elsewhere. It came from students' reports published on how they were engaging with community projects, and how this because I think they had assessment based around community research, and then they report how it really instigated change in them. So that was a surprise for me. I don't know about you, but yeah. If we talk more specifically, thinking about criticality, more literature, criticality, not any criticality, not just thinking, okay, benefits and disadvantages of something, going deeper, so theory, specifically theory-fronted criticality in terms of content, social change, or specifically social change-oriented content, so for example, gender equality content, or queer content, or Black Lives Matter content, or SDGs content, you know, the Sustainable Development Goals. it has to be something that is social change oriented, and then engagement with community, some kind of getting students out of the classroom and engaging with the community, with the space. And Lucy could say a bit more about that. I guess I'm putting you on the spot, sorry, but I'm glad you're here, because this is what Lucy has been doing in her work, for example. So this is this framework that I came up with so far. It says forthcoming because Paul Breen and Michelle Leroux kindly invited me to submit a chapter to the edited book. It's upcoming. So that chapter is about that, basically. Where I present this framework. Like I said, it's just a proposed framework, so obviously, you know, it's just a starting point for me. But you can see intention in the middle, underpinning everything, and then all of the others basically overlapping as well. So criticality has to be their content, community, all kind of joined together with this underpinning intention. So this is my reading and my thinking. I'm really, really interested to hear what you think. Maybe what does it look like in practice already? Maybe you're already doing it. Okay, how do I know? So what I'm going to do is just to very quickly go through a few slides, a few ideas that I had from colleagues, from literature, from my own practice, to kind of how to embed those principles in practice, what they could look like. So this overarching, and again, they all overlap. So it's kind of very difficult to say, oh, this is just the intention, because they could as well work, you know, as examples of other principles. So for example, intention, if you underpin the learning outcomes of your module, of your course, you know, that can work as that, because then obviously you are giving it the direction, okay? This is the intention behind this curriculum. Maybe if you have a debate or a text evaluation on a social justice related issue, and when it's an assessment, or part of coursework, or both, you know, assessment and coursework kind of working towards that, maybe that could also work really well for this principle of intention. Maybe a theory-driven curriculum design. So I don't know if you are familiar with the concept, for example, of, you know, concept of semantic waves from legitimation code theory has been mentioned a lot during this conference, a lot. Maybe you want to use that for your curriculum design, or anything based on critical EAP. All of those examples could embody this explicit intention for change, but obviously there are also other things, and that's what I'm looking for today. The owl again, now bigger for you. Criticality has probably easier, but like I said, specifically from literature, what I was getting is this theory-fronted criticality. So criticality approaches how we teach critical thinking in the classroom, but how those approaches can be based, grounded in theory. So a few examples: systemic functional linguistics, transitivity, for example, has been proven to support critical discourse analysis. Then we've got academic reading circles I've already mentioned, and this is what happens to me. So those academic reading circles happened to me, and that was the instigator of the change. Legitimation code theory, axiological constellations, but there are many different approaches, I'm guessing, and I'm really looking forward to find out what you have in mind, what you have been using maybe and doing. In terms of content, probably the clearest one. So anything to do with vocabulary, texts, images focused on social justice issues, on social change, anything to do with gender or queer, cultural, racial equality, maybe poverty, I don't know. SDGs again could work. And then we've got the community. So here, because it was a surprise for me, just a few examples. So for example, research project, I don't know if you've got what we've been doing on International Foundation program at Bristol, for example. So the foundation students would have an SDG related project, and they would have to choose what they want to focus on. For example, the city of Bristol and sustainability or something. They would have to go out and do some kind of questionnaire and then present it as a poster, for example. Then we've got taking students outside the classroom to reflect on physical spaces. And this is Lucy over there. So you've got the person that you can talk to if you are interested in this approach. Really, because she was talking about this in Leeds.
Yeah.
Yes. I think in 2019. So you've got a reference there as well. And then a photo diary is something I have come up with when I was designing my methods for this PhD. You know, I came across this idea of photo diary. It comes from the photo voice methodology. I'm not sure if you're familiar. Again, there is a there is a link there later. Photo diary is basically getting your students to, okay, how about you go out and take photos of anything that relates to poverty. Obviously, you've got to give students ethical training, so say, okay, do not take photographs of anybody's face because of, you know, because we need to, you can't identify people, so maybe places, things, and so on. And then they get those photos. Come on in. Hello. They take those photos, they bring those photos together, they sit, they have a photos group, and then they discuss those photos. How was it to take those photos? Has anything changed when they were doing, and so on. So just a few ideas on this community engagement. Again, I'm hoping that you will bring more. Okay, so time for the discussion. Key things, so sort of we've got some idea in the room what you have been talking about, and obviously you've got the choice. If you were noting anything down, if you could take a photo of that and post it on that Padlet. Oh, sorry, this.
Sorry,
Yeah.
we just said that.
Post it, or you can just go onto the Padlet and just make some notes now. We've got only 5 minutes, I think, left. But so yeah, what can we do in our context if we wanted to start kind of implement, or if we already are doing it, but we wanted to measure it, maybe we want to test something. What can we do? So having that explicit intention, we want our program to do it. Having that with that intention, we're thinking about what can we do rather than what we can't do, or what's risky. Okay, it's risky, but can I do it? What maybe? So I'm looking for ideas here. I'm so sorry. I think it's the time. Really, really sorry, guys. The last thing, well, the references and the slides are also on this shed now, so you will see it all. This is the final thought. It might be a silly idea, just came to my mind last night pretty much. Yes, if you would like to talk about this kind of thing more, if you would like to kind of start trying, testing, thinking about it a little bit more, would you be interested if we created a network of curriculum for change